Donald Trump has hosted leaders from the biggest U.S. tech companies at a lavish White House state dining room dinner. The dinner included Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Microsoft's Bill Gates, Apple's Tim Cook, OpenAI's Sam Altman, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, and Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, among others. He has invited many of them to speak, and Zuckerberg has told President Trump the companies were investing heavily in U.S. infrastructure, estimating Meta and its peers would pour in billions of dollars in the next few years. Let's listen in.
Well, thanks for hosting us. I mean, this is quite a group to get together, and I think all of the companies here are making huge investments in the country in order to build out data centers and infrastructure to power the next wave of innovation. So it's we don't often get together as the CEOs of the different companies, but it's good to see everyone.
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh, gosh. I think it's probably going to be something like, at least $600 billion through 28 in the U.S.
Tech giants have appreciated President Trump's leadership and gave their inputs about the future of tech and innovation in America. Bill Gates has spoken about innovation in vaccines as well as gene editing. Let's listen in.
And my second career is innovation, innovating in health in areas like vaccines or gene editing. And the President and I are talking about taking American innovation to the next level to cure and even eradicate some of these diseases. He mentioned polio, which is one that we're close. We don't need new science on that one. For some like HIV and sickle cell, we do need new science, but the U.S. Has the seeds that in the same way that Warp Speed took those seeds and put them together, I think something fantastic can be done.
Apple's Cook has said that Apple was making major U.S. manufacturing investments thanks to the administration's policies, while OpenAI's Altman has called President Trump a pro-business, pro-innovation president, whose approach was helping American companies lead in artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, President Trump has thanked the tech giants present at the table and spoke about imposing tariffs on companies that did not plan to come into the USA. Let's listen in.
Yeah, I have. I've discussed it with the people here. Chips and semiconductors, and we'll be putting tariffs on companies that aren't coming in. We'll be putting a tariff very shortly. You probably are hearing we'll be putting a fairly substantial tariff on, not that high, but fairly substantial tariff, with the understanding that if they come into the country, if they're coming in, planning to come in, there will not be a tariff.
Now for this discussion, we're joined by Major General Gigi Dwivedi. He's a global strategic defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you, Major General, for joining us as always. Great to see you here. Now, looking at this, does this close relationship between major CEOs and political leaders raise concerns about corporate influence over public policy and its regulation?
Well, President Trump, he has driven the geopolitics through geoeconomics, and that's exactly the way he is going about. And his major concern is that high-tech manufacturing must return to America so that it creates jobs for America, and also the wealth is created within the country. So that has been his strength, and therefore he has come out very categorically that all the big companies, they must now reverse back and come to the American mainland to do the manufacturing rather than outsourcing to other countries. And this is why this meeting has been held, because Trump wants to have a direct communication with the big tech giants and, everyone who in the technical industry was at the dinner. So point is that this is the trend, and as you can make out from the speeches of Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or Tim Cook, they all are on the same page, and they have appreciated President Trump for being a pro-business president, and also pro high technology manufacturing within the country. So this is definitely going to impact because in the countries even like he is going to even put tariffs on the semiconductor chips, and to that extent I think even India will be affected because a major manufacturer of iPhones has is taking place in India, and I think it is a cause of concern because if most of the industry gravitate back to the American mainland, then it is going to impact the current, supply chains, which are going to divert. And I'm sure this has to be considered. This has to be taken into consideration. But then, at the end of the day, the president is quite categorical and vocal that he wants to bring high-tech manufacturing back into India for the larger economic interest. Suma.
And Major General, should government incentives and tariffs be used to pressure tech companies into investing domestically?
Well, that's the weapon or tool which President Trump is using, and he had been a very pro-tariff president, and we had known it earlier too in his first term that he had shown his hand, but now he is going hammer and tongs as far as tariffs are concerned. But then each president or each country decides its own policies. Well, it's not being fair because especially when you talked about India, that singling out countries and differentiating them, well, it doesn't go well. But then I think at the end of the day, you have to deal with it. If you can't convince Trump, then you have to do certain amount of mid-course correction. But the end, I think what President Trump, his tariff policy, I don't think is going to change. It is the others who need to actually walk the talk and ensure that the damage is minimal and some negotiations are done so that at the end of it, the home impact is neutralized or at least minimized. Asuma.
Right. Thank you very much, Major General Dr. Gigi Dwivedi, for joining us and sharing that insight.